Ceremonies Commission to order at 3:31. As we do not have a quorum, oh wait, yes we do have a quorum. We do have a quorum.
We have 5 here.
Yeah. So the first order of business is to review the minutes from May. So if there are any corrections, amplifications, omissions, please speak up.
You weren't here for me? No. Oh.
Did we approve April's?
We did not, but I did not bring them with me today, so I don't know that it's appropriate for us to
I just want to see.
to bring them up today. Okay, do I hear a motion to accept as written? Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
minutes are accepted. Chairman's report. Most of the items that I'm going to speak about will be in the subcategories. So the one item in the chairman's report is the Darien Heritage Trail markers. The last 4 markers were dedicated on Saturday and Sunday this past weekend. On Saturday and which days?
It was Saturday and Sunday.
No, Friday and Saturday. On Friday, the marker that is located at the entry to Hindley School to note the Battle of the Post Road fought between Tories and Patriots. That went in Friday morning, and later on that morning, the Norotan River Cemetery plaque went up, and Al Miller was very complimentary of Mario's work at keeping the cemetery looking spiffy. So he said to say thank you to Mario.
I will.
On Saturday morning, we had the dedication for the Tilly Pond trail marker. And it was amazing. You think you know a lot, and you listen to all the things you don't know. I learned a lot about George Tilley and Tilly Pond, that he actually had over 2,300 or 2,800 exotic birds
yeah.
on that property.
Yeah.
And he would supply zoos and very wealthy families with exotic birds. So when the Rockefeller estate decided they wanted a peacock on their grounds, they called George Tilley.
Wow.
Did Danny Dulcetti tell you that story?
No.
Oh, okay, because
No.
he was the one that told me about those birds. I thought that was fascinating.
And then later on in the morning was the dedication of the Rings and Landing plaque, which is located, if you go across the bridge, that little turnout on the right-hand side,
Yes.
that's where the plaque is located. And essentially, that was really the hub of Darien for the first 100 years of its existence.
On the other side of the bridge.
Yeah, because the river at that point was navigable, so the ships would come up to where the bridge is now.
Oh.
And there was, Gorham had a sawmill there, and they would offload the ships. And
Wow.
now there's rumor, this is not substantiated, but there's 100 variations on why it's called Rings End. The
Landing.
one that seems to get the most traction, again, file this under fable, not under fact. But the one story that seems to get the most traction is that when a ship was coming in, they would ring a bell, so that the farmers could come down from their farms to get whatever supplies or to sell whatever goods they had. It's a good story, even if it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, but the 4 went in, and hats off to Al Miller and Shannon Silsby and everybody on the Darien 2020 commission that made all this happen. And a big shout out to the Darien Foundation, Ward Glassmeyer and Sarah Woodbury, who funded the project. And if you haven't seen the signs, go look at them. They are absolutely beautiful. They really are. They're really beautiful. And not that this is written in stone, but at the end of the dedication, Al Miller said they're lobbying to get next year a trail marker in at the Fitch Home for Soldiers and Sailors. There was only so much money this year. So they're gonna see if they can tap
That's
either
the one
the
open in
Darien
Roten Avenue there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Either tap the Darien Foundation or somebody else with deep pockets to fund that marker next year. But it was really, it was great. It was great seeing all the kids out too. You know, the kids really got into it, especially the one in front of Hindley. Because the kids were out having
Yeah,
a
sure.
field day that day.
Oh,
So there were a lot of kids there.
That's
It was
nice.
really nice.
There was someone wounded at that battle too.
And killed,
Oh, they killed too?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, the rebels lay in ambush waiting for the Tories who had gone on a raid coming up from Long Island, crossing over, parking their whaleboat at what is today Weed Beach, coming up, stealing cattle and whatever they could. And the rebels, interesting, they're called the Coast Guard, not as in the water, but as in guarding the coast. Heard that the Tories were there, so the Patriots lay in ambush. Unfortunately, the Tories were more adept at battle, and so the death was on the part of the rebels. One Tory was wounded and captured, Tory Joe, and was later traded in a prisoner of war exchange. Yeah.
I believe the British were considered the king of the ocean
Not British,
fighting.
they're not British, they're colonials who were loyal to the crown,
Oh, okay.
loyalists. Fine point of distinction, but, yeah, I mean, you know, if you really think about it, what we call the Revolutionary War in the country, in Connecticut and Long Island, was a civil war. It was family against family, brother against brother. There's lots of stories that we'll go into for you at another time about how families were absolutely fractured by it.
I read a book about that. I can't remember the title of it though, but it was very interesting because it talked about that.
Yeah, and you know, as a general overview, if you were a member of the Church of England, overwhelming odds you were a loyalist. If you were a member of the Congregational Church, overwhelming odds you were a patriot.
Ooh.
wow.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, the loyalists who would come over frequently to raid, the patriots here in Darien, of course, absconded all of the loyalists' property.
Ah,
And they hid it in the Mather Homestead, which, as you know, think of how many miles that is from Long Island Sound. First of all, you're rowing across Long Island Sound, and then you're going to go up to the Mather Homestead. But the Loyalists found out that that's where the goods were stashed on a different raid, and went in and retrieved their valuables along with whatever the Patriots had lying
Wow.
around. Yeah, there's a whole lot of back and forth. Most of it was bushwhacking and stealing and spying as opposed to out and out battles, but yeah, interesting history. So that was the Darien Heritage Trail Markers. Again, thank you Al Miller and Shannon Silsby and the Darien Foundation. Everything else that I have to talk about is in one of the subsets. So Memorial Day Parade. We had our usual slight hitches. There are some people who just like to park in the lane. And of course, you know, they're focused on their world. They're not understanding that the police are yelling at us because traffic is backing up out of the parking lot, out onto the road and all the way out onto the post road. So for those people who I annoyed by yelling at them, I'm half sorry, but next year I hope that you don't make it necessary for me to move you. So I know that I annoyed several people, but I subscribe to Oscar Wilde's definition of gentleman. Never annoy somebody accidentally. Other than that, the parade went well. Our Grand Marshal, John Walcott, U.S. Army Vietnam veteran, was absolutely humbled at the honor. And I think he was a great selection. And our keynote speaker, Middlesex Middle School U.S. history teacher Lucy Berry, hit it over the wall. You know, we all think back to the teachers that we had, and some of them were spectacular, that put great marks on our character. Others we'd like to forget, but we can't. I just wish I had Lucy when I was in grammar school. She's terrific. She was absolutely terrific. And by the way, for those thousands of people listening to us today, both the parade and the Veterans observation in the Spring Grove Veterans Cemetery are available on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and go to Darien Memorial Day Parade 2022, you can see the parade. And thank you, Damian Andrew, I keep giving him an S. Thank you, Damian Andrew and John Cini, for the broadcasting, and the Darien Library for allowing us to utilize their internet connections, and Nielsen Flores for accommodating us with putting up the reviewing stand, and Parks and Rec for setting everything up, and the firehouses and the police department. I mean, there literally were 30 or 40 different organizations that made all that happen. It's not all smoke and mirrors. There are a lot of people behind the scenes doing a lot of things. So thank you, everyone who helped make our parade what it is. The only thing I don't like, because we have to set up the TV by the library, because that's where the internet connection is, and there's almost nobody across the street. So anybody who's not at the parade looks at it and they say, this is a parade, but there's nobody watching it. But meanwhile, if you're downtown,
Yes,
okay,
huge.
yeah, I mean,
Huge.
they're jammed in like sardines in a subway train. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it's
so
impressive.
that's my only, and we can't do anything about it, because that's where the internet connection is. Let's see. Next, the wall that heals. That is the 3/4 scale model of the Vietnam Wall that was in Norwalk Veterans Memorial Park last weekend. And it was really special to be a part of that. And I was especially proud, Papa, that my daughter, who's here visiting from Australia, volunteered to come down and help set up the wall. And you ladies will appreciate this. We have to carry each one of the granite sections of the, first of all, we have to set up the frame. Then we have to carry each one of the granite sections out to the wall, put it in the wall, lock it in.
Those are heavy, those granite pieces.
Some of them are, yes.
Whew.
And so I'm teamed up with my daughter. And as we're walking out with the first piece, a male voice behind my head calls out, "Are you okay, girl?" And my daughter just rolls her eyes. When we come out with the next piece, "You have any trouble with that?" Now my daughter's getting a little irked. And as we're walking away, I said to her, "Certainly by now you should be used to dopey men."
True.
And she said,
You never get used
she
to
said,
dopey
that's
men.
what she said. She said, "You never get used to them." But thankfully, when the third panel that we brought out, the voice said, "I see you've got this, girl."
Oh.
And one of the other
Daylight dawns.
yeah, one of the other guys who had heard it, one of the other volunteers who had heard it, turned and he said, "That guy was an idiot. Your daughter could bench press more than any of the guys who were here."
So you guys had to set that up?
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't know that.
Neither did
Yeah.
I.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah.
But is that there forever now?
No, it's already gone. It was there for 4 days.
Then it comes
It's
down
in
and it
Minnesota
goes to,
now.
yeah, wherever it's going to.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see, I
It didn't go
see.
any place between here and Minnesota?
No,
That's interesting.
no. Don't forget, Minnesota only has 2 seasons. Summer
Yeah,
and
true.
Flag Day.
I lived there.
Winter and Flag Day.
Who supported that? Who?
So the wall in Washington
Right.
was the idea of a Vietnam vet, okay, Jan Scruggs, and he solicited the government and private organizations. The government deeded the land, but not 1 penny of government funds went into building that wall. Not a single penny. It was all private
Nice.
donations. So it's called the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund.
Okay.
VVMF.org. So if anybody is of a mind to make a contribution to them, you can look them up. So the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund built the wall in Washington, and they subsequently built the 3/4 scale model that goes around the country. Now, some people do get confused, as it's understandable. There are actually 4 walls that travel around the country, but only one is a nonprofit run by VVMF. The other 3 are for-profit organizations. Now, I'm not belittling them because they're still getting the word out about healing and giving the veterans and their families their due. But the Vietnam Veteran Memorial Fund, Wall That Heals, is the only nonprofit, and it's the only one associated with the actual wall in Washington, D.C. And Jeff DeWitt, who runs the Veterans Affairs in the city of Norwalk, this guy he's a Superman. He did such a spectacular job, and he really helped me because I gave him the name of the 6 Daryanites who were killed in Vietnam. And because he's a whiz with stuff I don't know anything about with genealogy.com and can get into the Department of Defense records, he built a dossier on each of the Vietnam veterans from Darien. And so now next year when we do our stuff, I will make sure that this dossier gets exposed. I'm still working on details.
Note he said we. Next year, we.
But I actually tracked down some of the children of some of the vets. I wanted them to read the names because we had a name reading for the 157 Fairfield County residents who lost their lives in Vietnam. And I wanted the children to read the names of the Darien residents. And
How many Darien residents were there?
6.
6.
And the one daughter had no idea that this was going on, and she would have loved to have done it, but between her health and she's 700 miles away. But she said she's going to make the effort to be here for Memorial Day next year.
It will be here again?
No, for our Memorial Day.
No, okay, but,
And so that when the reading of the names comes, I would love to arrange for the first selectman to not read the Vietnam names and have
Okay.
the daughter read the Vietnam name. And by the way, some of these guys, I mean, her father, Bill William Patience, was one of the first, if not the first, Green Beret killed in Vietnam in 1964. And this guy was unbelievable. He enlisted on his 18th birthday in 46, served 3 years, discharged. 3 months later, the Korean War begins, re-enlists, spends 3 years in Korea, gets a Silver Star in Korea, gets discharged.
Yeah.
A year and a half later, we go into Vietnam. He re-enlists again. And there is a building at the Special Forces training ground in Fort Lewis in Washington named after him. And, you know, some of the other guys also have very compelling stories. So it was really nice to see, you know, a lot of people came to, you know, remember their friends, their families, their loved ones. One woman told the story of, she's Filipino and she married an Air Force pilot. They had gone back and forth for a couple months and then they got married. And after they got married, he went back to Vietnam and she never saw him again. So there were a lot of, you know,
Yeah.
and they talked about, it was really nice because they really filled us with information. And they talked about all the items that are left at the wall in Washington. And to date, there are more than 400,000 articles that have been left at the wall. And they have photographed and cataloged every one of them. And they had a few of them up at the exhibit in Norwalk. One of them was a package, a care package that a mother had sent to her son. And he was killed in action before the package arrived. And in 1970, America was not yet in touch with its sensitive side. So instead of coming back return to sender, it comes back KIA, killed in action.
Great.
So the mom put it on the back shelf of her closet for 23 years. And she could not bring herself to go down to the wall. But her son's best friend was going down. And the son's sister said, do me a favor, bring this down with you. And she brings the package, gives it to him. You know, a lot of stories like that. He left a note on there. Mom said, it's time you had your Kool-Aid and cookies, and sends all her love. The largest item left at the wall was a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. A wounded Vietnam vet who rode with his buddy who was killed left the motorcycle there for him.
And what happens to that motorcycle then?
It's
On the way to Minnesota?
No, well, no, there's another motorcycle that travels. Another wounded Vietnam vet, double amputee, built a custom Harley, and he customized it, and on the gas tank, he chiseled into the gas tank, he made it look like the same black granite on the wall, and he chiseled the name of the 53 missing in action guys from Wisconsin on the gas tank. Did custom embroidery, had a gold star in the saddle, and he donated it to the Gold Star mothers, the moms of dead servicemen. And the Gold Star mothers donated it to the wall. So that travels with it. But I mean, other things, a guy who died of Agent Orange, and as someone who's a lot smarter than I am once said, wearing a jacket that said, I was killed in Vietnam, I just haven't died yet. And somebody left a prosthetic leg on the wall, and the guy wrote on it a letter to his brother. His brother had his leg amputated after being wounded and subsequently died of Agent Orange. And he wrote on there, I'm leaving your leg on the wall. This is the only way I could get you on the wall, because they don't have the names of those who died subsequently of their wounds on the wall.
Okay.
And that spurred the committee to add a plaque next to the wall honoring all those who died from their wounds. And you know, you can't add those names. I mean, it's a different war, a different story, but Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes died in 1916. and the cause of death was his wounds. A wound, he was shot in the neck in 1863 in the Civil War. And he died, the bullet eventually migrated and killed him. So, you can't get everybody on the wall, but, the whole thing is, and really, the best story was another guy from Vietnam, from Darien, John Sherman. He was a Marine fighter pilot, and he was flying a low-level strafing mission in support of a ground unit, and when he made his second sortie, his craft was taken down by ground fire. His body was not recovered. 27 years later, Vietnam television was running a documentary, a Ken Burns-style documentary for the Vietnam people, with the idea of it's time to heal and move forward. And there was a former North Vietnamese soldier who was watching the program, and he contacted the television station, and he said, 28 years ago, I buried an American out in the field, an American pilot, and I kept his pocket knife and his wristwatch as souvenirs. But having watched the program, I think it's time for his family to heal too. I'd like to get them back to his family. So the television station contacted the Vietnamese government. He led them to the grave. They exhumed the remains. They still didn't know who it was. It was just an American pilot. The remains went to the Philippines. It took them 5 years to match the DNA sample. Don't forget, 1993, there weren't the computers and the internet that we have. 1998, they finally identified the remains as John Sherman. And unfortunately, everyone in his immediate family had died by that point. But
So they didn't really even know if he was alive as a POW or if he was...
No, they knew he was dead.
Oh, they did? Okay.
They just, because his plane crashed and burned, but they
Oh.
couldn't recover the body because of where it was. So the pocket knife and the wristwatch went one step down the ladder. This John Sherman was the captain of the soccer team, president of his fraternity, Phi Beta Kappa at Brown University. So if you go to Brown University today, to their Wall of Heroes, you will see that pocket knife and that wristwatch. And in addition, and this is, I'm finding all because of Jeff DeWitt. He's the one who really got me the information. And in addition, there was a letter from the ground crew that serviced his jet. And I thought that the fractured grammar of the ground crew said it best. Us enlisted guys loved John Sherman. He was the only officer we liked. And they wrote an unbelievable letter to his mother, the enlisted guys, in addition to the formal letter from the colonel. They wrote an unbelievable letter to his mother, talking about what a terrific man he was, and just.
And they've got no family left here in town?
No family anywhere. They were all dead by that. By 1998, they were all dead. But again, it makes you realize that you see these names out on the wall, but it's more than names on a wall. And just if anybody gets a chance, if you don't go down to Washington D.C., you can come right out here to Veterans Circle and look at the names on the walls here, or go to the plaques in front of the Darien train station, or go to the old town hall housing, see the same thing. And look the names up. It's you realize that our freedom is not free. Okay, moving on. Wartime Veteran Street Sign Program. The day before Memorial Day, we dedicated 2 street signs, one on the corner of West Avenue and Norotan Avenue, and the other on the corner of Norotan and Middlesex. One each for the Morehouse brothers, Alan Morehouse and Philip Morehouse. there were probably, I don't know, what would you say, like 70, 80 people at the dedication ceremony? And Phil Morehouse, who actually founded this commission and did about everything in the town of Darien except turn out the lights and empty the waste baskets. I mean, this guy was unbelievable. His brother Alan, sadly, was killed landing on Omaha Beach on D-Day. But I got 2 days later a letter from Phil Morehouse's daughter. On behalf of the Morehouse family, I would like to take a moment to thank you again for the honor of being chosen for the town's Veterans Street Sign Honor Program bestowed upon my father, Philip, and uncle, Alan Morehouse, this weekend. We were touched by the support and kind words of the speakers and appreciative that you chose to honor both brothers in this manner. My father and his brother were best friends throughout their lives and always looked to each other for support. The entire family was devastated by Alan's death on that beach in Normandy. His bravery in combat and commitment to his men was so deep that he left a lasting mark on those who knew him. Throughout his life, my father made sure we remembered how and why we enjoy the freedom this country offers, and the sacrifice of so many that it should be so. Memorial Day was always near to his heart. Your timing was perfect. They both would have been so touched they were celebrated and remembered as a team. Dad continued his commitment to country and community throughout his life. He loved Darien and was proud to be a truly native son, being born in the home he was raised in on Prospect Avenue. His long record of service to his hometown speaks volumes of the man he was. My brother Bill and I, and Alan's son Randy, were blessed to be raised within our family, and we're so proud to be able to be there on Sunday to again honor our two family heroes together. This remembrance and honor means more than you can know, and we thank you for all the consideration and honor bestowed on the Morehouse boys, Alan and Phil. Most sincerely, Louise Morehouse Houck.
So she was the daughter of Phil.
Correct.
Rob Hewitt just called and asked if he could call here.
Yeah, but call on
in.
your phone because mine is.
Okay, all right, so it's okay, right? Yeah. Okay.
Cemetery Committee, anything going on there?
I talked to
Figaro Dell.
the illustrious Mario this morning. He said everything is fine. It's easy now. Everything's cleaned up, not anywhere near as bad as it was last year. And all they really have to do now is just cut the lawn, you know? So that's...
If he's got another invoice coming in before June 30th, get on the stick because our fiscal year closes June 30th. And,
okay, all right.
Any update on the other properties? The other cemeteries?
No, not really.
Okay.
You know, Terry, there's one thing that, and be honest with you, I'm not sure I know how to handle this. Dave Pollitt dropped off the sign for the cemetery on the Hanson Road,
Right.
and it's broken.
The sign is broken.
Yeah, he put it in my front porch. Is there anybody I could talk to that does? Do we have blanks of those signs? We do.
We do. I have at least one blank downstairs.
Do you? So what do you want me to do?
Broken as in?
Like split in half type thing, you know?
Vertically or horizontally?
This way, cross.
Anything that can be done,
Makes it
with
harder.
glue and vice?
I honestly,
I'll look at it.
okay. He's the handyman. He is.
Okay.
He's got a shop.
All right, I've got about 30 vices down in my basement if you need any.
Okay, all right, great. Okay,
That's the Slauson Cemetery.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Town Hall display case. I didn't look on my way up. Is there anything in there?
Yes, I sent you a picture.
Didn't get it.
Oh,
No. Okay, so who's in there?
Carol Conzi, and Isabel and I went and met her there and got the key from
Okay.
reception and unlocked it and put it in, and had a little bit of trouble hanging it because I brought 2 different hooks, but they didn't fit in those little slots. Luckily, we heard the janitor, what do you call him? The
Mr.
custodian,
Wonderful.
sorry.
Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful, as we've nicknamed him. He came over and he helped us, and we have it hanging there. It was
Beautiful.
great.
All right,
So-
I'll make sure to look on my wife. Forgot to look on the.
Yeah,
way.
no, I did.
See, that's the problem.
I
It's
emailed you a copy
located-
of it. Or maybe I sent it
It's
to you as
around
a
the
text.
corner now.
You don't get texts?
No.
Oh, then you didn't get my text on Memorial Day. Oh,
So Carol Conzi's Fred Conzi's
Fred's
wife, right?
wife, yes, yes.
So may I ask what she put in?
It's an abstract piece. It's really interesting.
Did she do it?
Oh,
Yeah,
of
of
course,
course.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It has
All
to be.
right.
It has to be the artist's
Okay,
work. Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
yeah. So I apologize. I sent you a text like at 5:30 Memorial Day morning that I couldn't come down because my company arrived 7 hours early. It was-
Oh,
woke me
lucky
up.
you.
Woke me up. I was like, okay. Anyway, I apologize. I didn't know you didn't get text because I sent a picture of it to you.
Well, I don't know what number you're texting. I do get text, but I don't know what number you're sending it to. Anyway, we'll
It's
talk about
obviously
that
not
later.
your cell phone.
Maybe I didn't get it. It didn't bounce back though. That's the funny
Oh.
part. Usually it bounces
Yeah,
back and
right.
says undeliverable or something.
That's
Anyway,
true.
Carol's in there, and next week we will send out the notice to, I believe it's Laura Dulcetti, and then we'll do the switch on June 30th.
Okay, excellent.
So we're moving right along.
I'll go look
Mr.
on our
Wonderful
way
was a
out.
big help.
Is
Yes.
Laura Dulcetti in charge of that? or-
No, she's
No, no,
another
no, no,
artist.
no. She's the second artist. She'll be
Okay.
doing July.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
So she
Is
brings her
that
work in.
Dan's wife?
Yep.
Dan's daughter. No, no, no.
Oh,
his
it's
daughter.
it's his daughter.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Didn't know
and she
that.
does very interesting work, very 1960s flower power stuff. Yeah. So we went from abstract to groovy, and we're moving right along. I tried to get a mix.
Okay, so moving along, Flag Day ceremony, just putting it on the docket because in 15 minutes, we're all going to be downstairs.
That's right.
Aye.
They're gonna take him home. He has to go pick his wife up.
And you don't have a car?
No, yeah,
We live on the
we
same
live next
road.
door to each other,
Oh,
so we
I see.
carpool.
Oh, okay, okay, got it.
Well, not quite next to each other.
It's like you and me.
Down the
right around
street.
corner.
All right, so I did a little more digging and cleaned up what we read because with the aim of helping, especially if there are younger people that typically we have scouts, helping them understand the progression of our flag.
Okay.
And it's actually not a straight line. You know, during the Revolutionary War, there were no states, there were only colonies, and each colony had its own flag. Well, you can imagine how well that worked in a battle.
God.
So we did the cheapy thing at the beginning. Continental Congress grabbed all the British flags that they could. The British flag at the time was just a red flag with the Union Jack in the upper canton or corner of the flag, and just a red field. So they grabbed hundreds of the British flags from all the office buildings and wherever they could raid them, and they just sewed white stripes onto the red field, but they kept the Union Jack up in the corner, which you can imagine in the fog of war, not much better.
No.
Right.
And so in 1777, the Maritime Commission, you know, was more important on a ship when somebody's looking through a telescope at a ship a mile and a half away. Who is that?
Okay.
That they came up with the Stars and Stripes. So it's actually the Maritime Commission that came up with it first.
How about that?
And the interesting thing, there was no regulation on the flag. So every time a state was added, they'd add a new star and a new stripe. And so by 1820, the flag had 20 stripes.
Oh,
And
wow.
the shape was,
Right.
so it wasn't until 1820 that they said, hold it, pull back on the reins.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah. So, a lot of interesting history there.
You know, just a point. Doug McKay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Wonderful man.
great guy, great. I did not realize that the states up and down the East Coast have maritime schools.
Oh, yeah.
And the tuition to go to those schools is zero. I had no clue about any of that stuff.
That's why you didn't go to Manhattan.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing, you know?
Yeah. Now, he's mentioning Doug McKay, for those who for the 8 people in town who don't know who he was, we lost just a wonderful human being.
Yes.
At the age of 63, brain tumor. Just indescribable, just a great human being.
And a great RTC member. I served
Yeah.
with him for a couple of years.
You know, he had no agenda. He's
No.
just a legitimate guy.
Just a
Yeah.
decent guy, yeah.
All right, moving along, commission staffing.
Oof.
Effective next week, we have 2 open positions.
All right, here's a question for you,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I've got somebody that I think wants to get involved in this thing, but he's not the youngest person in the world.
Well,
And-
get
and-
involved, we still need somebody, we still need warm bodies on the commission, and we will need a new chairperson.
Yeah, well, I'm
So I've contacted both the RTC and the DTC, and
I have to tell you, the reason why I convinced Mr. Long, Rob Hewlick, the reason why John King and I joined this, so you could have a quorum, it is not easy. For whatever reason, I have no idea. To recruit people to,
yeah,
you know? And I'm thinking to myself that we should have a younger person, man or woman, to be the chairperson. You know, to be around for at least 10 years, you know?
let's worry about next year.
Yeah.
Now, are these 2 open positions, do you want them both from Democrats or Republicans, or
It
One
doesn't
each,
matter.
I think,
one each?
or an independent.
Yeah.
Independent can do it.
Doesn't matter. Right now, I would take Bugs Bunny.
But what,
But supposedly they're to be in balance.
is Sue Ann, is she gonna take over?
She can't. Between her job, and she's still active in the Naval
Right.
Reserve, so she's away 1 week every 6
Okay,
weeks.
all right, okay.
She's the Girl Scout leader in town.
Yeah,
She's
no.
building a new house. She's a mom, so
I got
she's-
it,
I mean, she's
okay.
busy,
Yeah,
very.
Yeah. So anyway, we need 2 individuals to fill the vacant slots. We will not be meeting in the summer. Our next meeting will not be to September. But that should give us time to beat the bushes and scare away the rattlesnakes and find the rabbits.
yeah, okay.
Okay, and is there any
And
new
who do we
business?
send this information to? To you?
No, send it to the Democrat and town, not me. Send it to
Send it-
Democrat Town
If
Committee and
if
the
it's a Republican,
Town
send it to
Committee.
me. I'm in charge of recruiting for the RTC.
Okay.
And
Who is it on the D?
I have no idea.
I've forgotten her name. I'd have to go on my records and look.
And and if you find somebody that's an independent, it's okay too, you know?
Okay.
They do have to be interviewed, but, well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
yourself.
the deal.
They have to be, first of all, vetted by the town committees and then interviewed by the Board of Selectmen. Any new business coming
Well, are you,
before us?
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but is there a chance that you will stay involved?
I can, to some degree, help as an advisor, but I cannot be on the board because I will
All
not
right,
be a
Right.
resident
okay,
of the
all right.
Right. Advisor would help
Right,
and appreciate it.
And make it an easier transition.
yeah. Any new business?
No.
Okay, do I hear a motion for a Carabillo?
Carabillo?
Seconded? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye, okay. We are
But-
closing the meeting at 4:15 PM.